March 31st, 2025. It's about the 90th day they've been in session with 1,455 bills. Versus Utah, that's 45 days and 600 bills.
House be in order. First order of business, roll call. Clerk will unlock the machine and the members will cast the roll.
We'll see who's absent. Boy, look at all those bills they're going to be reading today. Barbarian Earhart can't get it together.
Clerk will lock the machine, record the roll. 64 present, 4 absent and excused. The majority being 66 present, 4 absent and excused. Majority being present. The House is now ready to do business. The House will now advance to the second order of business. Prayer by our good chaplain Tom Doherty, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance from Tom Doherty. Oh no, Teresa there. We lost Teresa. Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Teresa Wanacott. Will our friends in the gallery please arise?
Well, known as one of the greatest baseball players to ever live, and probably during some of our time here, was Babe Ruth. I don't know whose time anybody's that old, really, but Babe Ruth said this. He said, "Never let the fear of striking out keep you from playing the game." He struck out over 1,300 times, and he hit 714 home runs. And the Bible passage is 2 Corinthians 4:9. It says, "Persecuted but not abandoned, struck down but not destroyed." And that's Apostle Paul, who went through a ton. And sometimes we feel defeat, but stand back up again, and this time you may hit a home run. So let's pray. Dear Father in heaven, I pray that we will always stand up and move forward, even when the odds are against us. I pray you will help us, O Lord, to get through any discouragement that we may feel and know that you have greater things for us, and we can make it through anything that may be tossed our way. Lord, many great things have been accomplished through many people who either struck out or ran into a dead end in their plans. I'm thankful that Einstein never gave up when some of his inventions failed. I'm thankful that Babe Ruth kept playing even when he would strike out. I'm thankful for each representative that didn't crawl in a hole when their idea was shut down. You have given us so many learning opportunities, and I pray we use those examples to help us become better in everything we do. Thank you so much, dear Lord, for these leaders today. Please watch over them, I pray, in Jesus' name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The House will now advance to the third order of business, approval of the journal. The House took the third order of business.
In the House of Representatives, March 31st, 2025, Mr. Speaker, we, your Committee on Judiciary, Rules, and Administration, report that we have read and approved the House Journal of the 82nd Legislative Day and recommend same be adopted as corrected. Moved by Skog, seconded by Gannon.
Heard the motion to approve the journal. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. The journal is approved. Without objection, the House will now advance to the 14th order of business, presentation of petitions and communications. The House is at the 14th order.
March 28th, 2025. Dear Mr. Speaker, I have the honor to inform you that pursuant to Title 67-412 Idaho Code, I have designated Max Brown of Eagle, Idaho as a qualified substitute for Legislative District 14, Seat A, Ada and Gem County, State of Idaho. This designation is effective March 31st and will continue until I am able to resume my duties. Sincerely, Representative Ted Hill. March 29th, 2025. Dear Mr. Speaker, I have the honor to inform you that pursuant to Title 67-412 Idaho Code, I have designated Steve Harris of Meridian, Idaho as a qualified substitute for Legislative District 22, Seat A, Ada County, State of Idaho. This designation is effective March 31st and will continue through April 4th, 2025. Sincerely, Representative John Vanderwatte.
The oaths for both of our new representatives were administered earlier today, and the letter of appointment will be filed with the Office of the Chief Clerk. Without objection, the House will now return to the fourth order of business. Consideration of messages from the Governor and the Senate. The House at the fourth order.
From the Office of the Governor, March 28th, 2025. Dear Mr. Speaker, I have the honor to advise you that I have signed on March 28th, 2025, and am transmitting to the Secretary of State the following House bills to wit: House Bills 113, 128, 215, 222, 240, 242, 249, 268, 275, 286, 289, 322, 336, 338, 354, 358, 361, and 377. Sincerely, Brad Little, Governor of Idaho. From the Senate, March 28th, 2025, Mr. Speaker, I transmit herewith Senate Bills 1179, 1187, 1190, 1192, and 1193, which have passed the Senate. Novak, Secretary of the Senate.
Senate Bill 1179, 1187, 1190, 1192, and 1193 will be filed with the first reading calendar.
March 28th, 2025, Mr. Speaker, I return herewith House Bills 25 and 426, which have passed the Senate. Novak, Secretary of the Senate.
House Bill 25 and 426 will refer to the Judiciary Rules Administration Committee for enrolling. House now advanced fifth order of business. Report of standing committees, the House at fifth order of business.
In the House of Representatives, March 31st, 2025, Mr. Speaker, we, your Committee on Judiciary Rules and Administration, report that we have printed House Bills 467, 468, and 469. SCOG, Chairman.
House Bill 467 will be filed in the Office of the Chief Clerk. House Bill 468 and 469 will be filed for the second reading calendar.
March 31st, 2025. Mr. Speaker, we, your Committee on Judiciary Rules and Administration, report that we have enrolled House Bills 96 as amended in the Senate, 264 as amended in the Senate, 25, and 426. SCOG, Chairman.
House Bill 96 is amended in the Senate, 264 is amended in the Senate, House Bill 25 and House Bill 426 will be fined by the Speaker and returned to the Senate for the signature of the Senate President.
March 31st, 2025, Mr. Speaker, we, your Committee on Judiciary Rules and Administration, report that we have transmitted enrolled House Bills 174 as amended in the Senate and 239 as amended in the Senate to the Governor at 11:11 a.m. as of this date, March 28th, 2025. SCOG, Chairman. March 31st, 2025, Mr. Speaker, we, your Committee on Education, report that we have had under consideration Senate Bill 1142 and recommend that it do pass. Pickett, Chairman.
Senate Bill 1142 will be filed for the second reading calendar. Without objection, the House now advanced the eighth order of business, introduction, first reading, and reference of bills and joint resolutions. The House at the eighth order of business.
From the Senate, Senate Bill 1179 by Judiciary and Rules Committee, an act relating to health and safety, amending Section 39912 Idaho Code as amended in Section 13 of Senate Bill 1014 as enacted by the first regular session of the 68th Idaho Legislature to revise provisions regarding exemptions and declaring an emergency and providing an effective date. Senate Bill 1187 by State Affairs Committee, an act relating to agricultural protection areas, amending Section 679706 Idaho Code as added in Section 3 of Senate Bill 1133 as amended if enacted by the first regular session of the 68th Idaho Legislature to revise a provision regarding review and action on agricultural protection area applications, amending Section 679709 Idaho Code as amended in Section 4 of Senate Bill 1133 as amended if enacted by the first regular session of the 68th Idaho Legislature to revise a provision regarding adding and removing agricultural protection area land and declaring an emergency. Senate Bill 1190 by Finance Committee, an act relating to appropriations for the Public Utilities Commission, Industrial Commission, and State Tax Commission, appropriating additional monies to the Public Utilities Commission for fiscal year 2026, appropriating additional monies to the Industrial Commission for fiscal year 2026, appropriating additional monies to the State Tax Commission for fiscal year 2026, and declaring an emergency and providing an effective date. Senate Bill 1192 by Finance Committee, an act relating to funding of the State Liquor Division, appropriating additional monies to the State Liquor Division for fiscal year 2026 and declaring an emergency and providing an effective date. Senate Bill 1193 by Finance Committee, an act relating to the appropriation to the Office of Information Technology Services, appropriating additional monies to the Office of Information Technology Services for fiscal year 2026, increasing the number of authorized full-time equivalent positions for fiscal year 2026, providing for information technology cost efficiencies reporting, providing for conditions, limitations, and restrictions, appropriating additional monies to the Office of Information Technology Services for fiscal year 2025, and declaring an emergency and providing effective dates.
Senate Bill 1190, 1192, 1193 will be filed for the second reading calendar. Senate Bill 1178 referred to the Health and Welfare Committee, and Senate Bill 1187 were referred to the Local Government Committee. Without objection, the House now advanced 11th order of business, third reading of bills and joint resolutions. The House at 11th order of business. Good gentleman, 22.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask unanimous consent that House Bill 379 hold its place on the third reading calendar one legislative day.
As said, been requested, is there objection? Hearing none, so ordered, and the House will have under consideration House Bill 436 Good gentleman, 22.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask unanimous consent to dispense with further reading of House Bill 436.
Unanimous consent has been requested. Is there objection? Hearing none, the gentleman has the floor to present the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 436 deals with urban renewal districts. For those of you that aren't as familiar with an urban renewal district, we use them for more than just urban renewal. Oftentimes we also use them for economic development areas and such, where we will take the incremental growth in the property taxes and we'll use that to fund projects. And so it doesn't require anybody pay any new additional property taxes with an urban renewal district. It just diverts where that money is going. And it's been used throughout the state for many purposes. That's all existing law, has been there for a long time. We have touched on adjusting it at different times, but it's been around for a while. What this legislation does is it addresses a couple areas in there, and I apologize that the bill is so lengthy, but when you renumber some things, you end up with a lot of blank pages that will deal with it. The first thing that I think that's important that it does, remember that an urban renewal district is created by a city. The city is the one who creates this urban renewal district, and currently in code, there is a section of code that deals with urban renewal district authorization and dissolution. But there's really no process or procedure for a dissolution. Just as you can do that, some of the cities are concerned and have had concerns as far as how do we do that? This lays out the process by which you can start that. It doesn't define it, but it at least starts that process. First thing you do is you have a city has to adopt a resolution with the intent to dissolve one. After they have that intention, then the city meets with the urban renewal district themselves. They come up with a plan as far as how they can do it, when they can wind it down, or not. After they've had that discussion, then they will go ahead and that local governing body, again, the city will have to pass another ordinance after that meeting to lay out the exact plan. That's what the first section does. Again, if a city doesn't want to touch the urban renewal district, they don't have to. It changes nothing. If the city is happy with the urban renewal district, this changes nothing. If a city wants to dissolve an urban renewal district, they have been given an opportunity and a way in which they can start that process. Second thing that this does is it deals with our fire districts. And many times a fire district is incorporated within a city, and so it doesn't really apply. But there are situations where it does. And I believe there are 34 fire districts within of the 106 urban renewal districts. I think you've got 34 of those incorporate a fire district itself. What happens when think of a new development, and I like to picture Meridian's off 10 Mile because a lot of people are familiar with that, with the new Shields that's there, and there's some hospital, a lot of big buildings down there. That's in an urban renewal district. Fire department is required to provide protection for that area. And if this was a fire district that had that area, then they would not receive any additional funding as the property values are added to the tax rolls, and that money, it will not go to them. It goes to the urban renewal district. That has caused problems throughout the state. I think you'll see a letter there that was passed out from myself that came from the fire chiefs. I think they gave an example of a grocery store that was in a URD in an area that had a value of $50,000. That's what they're paying value-wise in property taxes, right? Because it was in this urban renewal district, all the values increased, and again, that's the purpose of what an urban renewal district does. But then the value now is $7.2 million. Now that entity is still paying that property tax, but none of it is going to that fire district. Normally they would see that incremental growth. They would see that and they would be able to use that for their budget, but it's all being gobbled up and used for the urban renewal district, leaving the fire department or fire district without funds, yet they're still required to provide the service to that area. This particular piece of legislation will allow a fire district to opt out of an urban renewal district. However, they can't opt out if there's already indebtedness in that urban renewal district. Remember, when an urban renewal district is created, oftentimes they will take that incremental growth in that property taxes and they will use it to get a bond so that they can pay for a bunch of infrastructure that's needed for a project. This allows that fire district to opt out if there's not already indebtedness. If there's indebtedness, they can't opt out because that money's already being used. But if they didn't have indebtedness, the fire district could opt out. That's the old districts. New districts going forward, and here's where it might become valuable. Going forward, a fire district has to actually opt in to the urban renewal district going forward. If they don't opt in, they just get their regular growth like they would normal, no harm, no foul. We already do that with highway districts because, again, the highway district has to provide the infrastructure around this urban renewal, so it makes sense to allow them to have their money associated with it. This bill allows them, that fire district, to opt out for a new district. Opt in, if they're already in one, they can opt out, but there can't be indebtedness, so we don't want to hurt that. For new ones coming in, they have to opt in if they choose to. Again, that's totally their option. The other thing that this does, it has one last thing, and it looks at an existing revenue allocation area, and that's where the money comes from within an urban renewal district. Currently, there are urban renewal districts that have no time frames. They can just keep going on in perpetuity. A number of years ago, we passed legislation that said you can only run them for 20 years, and that's it. You may have a development that needed to get an urban renewal district to pay for infrastructure. If you have a plant that's being built and they need a lot of wastewater treatment plant, the city does because they don't have the infrastructure to do it. Instead of the city having to go out and getting a bond, what they'll do is they'll develop an urban renewal district. They will take that incremental growth, that property tax, and will use that to pay the bond. Well, we have examples of that happening. And 10 years down the road, they want to expand. And it's a big expansion, and so they've got no money left in that urban renewal district to provide for additional expansion. This allows for a one-time extension. They can extend it for another 20 years so that they can get another bond and pay for that infrastructure associated with the expansion. Important thing to remember, urban renewal districts do not increase property taxes to anybody. They don't. It just changes where it goes. This particular bill allows cities flexibility to get rid of an urban renewal district if they choose to. If they don't want to, no harm, no foul. It allows fire districts to be able to keep some of that growth in property taxes that they would need. And it allows some expansion there if you've got an urban renewal district already around and there's no way for that expansion because the city would choose maybe or could choose not to approve that expansion because they don't have the money to do it. This allows the developer to pay for that over a period of time. Mr. Speaker, I'll answer any questions I can on this bill. I would encourage your green light.
Thank you, gentlemen. You've heard the motion. Further debate on the motion. Gentleman from 11.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, to debate the bill.
And has the floor.
I dislike urban renewal very, very, very much. They have taken that program and spread it out to be something that it's not supposed to be. It was to help with urban blight, and they've used it to bypass the bond issues in cities to build city buildings, libraries, parking garages, all kinds of things. I would love to see a repeal of this bill, but of urban renewal, but this is a good start in reducing the size of urban renewal districts and cutting back on that program. And so I'm going to be a definite yes on this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. You've heard the motion. For debate on the motion. Gentleman 28.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to debate the bill.
Gentleman has the floor.
Urban renewal is the only local governmental development ability we have in the state of Idaho. You've seen letters from the Redevelopment Association of Idaho. You've seen letters from other cities across the state of Idaho and how they use this. We use it heavily in the city of Pocatello. And I think I want to make one clarification. There are urban renewal districts, and then there are urban renewal agencies. The district is the specific area contained within an urban renewal area. The agency manages the district, the agency manages all the districts within their jurisdiction. This bill, if allowed to go forward in its current state, would gut the ability of urban renewal agencies to spend that money for the proper role of what urban renewal is designed to do in the state of Idaho. If we allow fire districts or other sub-jurisdictions to withdraw their increment from this, the urban renewal agency has nothing left to spend to do the development that is so necessary and has been so vital across our state to hold down property taxes. We're not moving money, we're simply spending it a different place. We're not assessing more, as a gentleman from 22 said. We're simply spending the money in a different way. If fire districts want to increase their revenue, then convince the urban renewal agency to close a specific district that is of concern, let the tax value increase to present levels, then reopen the agency at the increased valuation level. In committee, we heard from a member of the fire service who came in to testify in favor of this bill, and I asked him what his tax levy was, and it was about a quarter of what is allowed by law. If fire agencies are not increasing their levy to keep up with the expenditures they need, then don't take it out of the urban renewal area. Do your job as a tax commissioner and increase your levy rate to what it should be to meet those levels. This bill is open. It has some good spots, don't get me wrong. But there's a couple of things in here that need to be changed before we move this further. And Mr. Speaker, for that reason, I would move we move House Bill 436 to the amending order.
Been a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Gentleman, good lady from 18. There's been a motion and a move to send the bill to the amending orders. Is there further discussion on the motion? Gentleman 22.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This would be a hostile motion. I would point out, and I'll cover it in my closing, I guess, on this debate. Fire districts can't just arbitrarily raise their levy rates. They can't. There's prohibitions on that. They have limits and caps as far as what they can do. They don't have the ability to do that. Mr. Speaker, this is good legislation. I find it most interesting that the people that are most against it are these, what we would call agencies. They're non-governmental organizations that are created by a city, and yet they're complaining that the city might actually undo them. To me, that seems a little odd. Can you imagine us creating something and then them coming back and telling us that, no, you can't get rid of us? That just seems a little odd to me, Mr. Speaker. I would ask for a no vote on that, sending it to general orders.
Further debate on the motion. Gentleman from 12.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and body.
For what purpose do you rise?
I rise to debate the motion.
Gentleman has the floor.
This bill does address three different things. And in speaking for, because I think I can speak for the city of Napa since I've been on the phone with them, and you all have a letter in front of you right now, they don't have any problem with most of the bill, Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman 20, I think we're debating the bill, and I think we need to stick to the motion to go to general orders. We can debate the bill if it doesn't go on general orders, good gentlemen. I think the gentleman 22 kind of pushed it too. Let's keep it to the motion to go to general orders.
I will support this only because there's a small fix that I think can be made, some sideboards in how a district is disillusioned. That is not clear in this language right now, and it could set a city up to be sued by developers, real estate people, and we don't want to go down that path. The city's not against this. They just want some sideboards.
Further debate on the motion to go to general orders. Good lady 34.
To make the motion.
Good lady has the floor.
Good ladies and gentlemen, I think it's worth noting that as part of the committee meeting for this legislation, there was this discussion. So this question about whether or not to amend or to send it to the floor with do pass. And after hearing the public testimony that was provided and the discussion from the committee, it came out of committee with a do pass recommendation.
For the debate on the motion, go to general orders. Hearing none, with the gentleman from, who made the motion? Gentleman from 28, care to close the debate?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As I said earlier, there's some good pieces in this bill, but it isn't quite there yet. All we're asking is an opportunity to take this bill to general orders and do a little tweaking to make this something that will be advantageous for urban renewal agencies across the entire state of Idaho. We all talk about how prosperous the state of Idaho is in growth, in business, and a lot of that is happening in urban renewal districts or because of the businesses attracted near urban renewal districts. I'd like to see this bill go to general order so we can make those tweaks and continue our growth.
Debate is closed. Question is, shall House Bill 436 be placed on general orders? Good point. A yes vote will send it to general orders. A no vote, we will continue the debate on the bill. Clerk will lock the sheet and members will cast their votes. Has every member voted? Galaviz? Does everyone wish to change their vote? Clerk will lock the sheet and record the roll. 12 ayes, 56 nay, 2 absent and excused. Less than the majority having voted in favor of the motion. The motion fails and the House will continue to debate on House Bill 436. Is there debate for discussion? Hearing none, would the gentleman from 22 care to close the debate?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Would the gentleman want to debate?
Yes, I
Stand
would.
up so I can see it. Gentleman from one wants to debate. Go ahead, gentleman.
Yes, to debate for the bill.
Gentleman has the floor.
As it is, we all know the urban renewal districts interrupt ongoing funding from fire service and EMS. I just wanted to point out when a URD starts and during construction, the demand for emergency services continues. In fact, actually, you could say it's exacerbated. It goes from perhaps unused land or land that's pretty much fallowed to a housing tract with hundreds of people working there. At that point, you've got framed houses that are a pretty serious fire threat. So the fire districts still are on duty and working the entire time. Without a due date on when something would stop, that there's almost an incentive to just keep this going. And an urban renewal district can continue to collect the funds. Fire districts can continue to provide more and more and more service, and the same with EMS, and not get paid for it. So yes, it's true, urban renewal districts could elect to help the fire service and the EMS people get paid for what they actually deliver, but generally they don't. So I'm a yes on this one. I think it deserves everybody's green light. Thank you.
To debate the bill.
The lady has the floor.
So one of the comments that was brought up and registered was this idea of how do we ensure that either the liability or the obligations of the urban renewal district remain uninterrupted if there is a determination and an ordinance passed to dissolve an urban renewal agency. I would direct the body's attention to page 17. And I would say look at subsection B, which is lines 41 through 47. I'll read it for those of you who don't necessarily want to pull it up because it's pretty straightforward. The termination plans submitted by the Urban Renewal Agency shall include a detailed summary of all agency obligations under such urban renewal plan and anticipated future obligations to implement the plan through the duration of the plan, including information on the use of revenues collected to fund specific projects and any capital improvement project plans. The termination plan shall also include a proposed termination timeline. This bill does not create an automatic and/or abrupt end date for an urban renewal agency. It essentially establishes a process by which you have to draw up a plan which has to account for existing liabilities. So let's say, for instance, because I went to the good gentleman from 22 and posed this very question. that you do the extension with the plan amendment of an additional 20 years, and then the next day there is a vote that says, now we want to dissolve the Urban Renewal Agency. Does that remove the legal obligation that comes with the additional amendment and the 20 plus years? And the answer is no. There's an existing obligation that's on the books that is owed to any projects that are covered under that umbrella. This bill does not change that legal or financial obligation to see those projects through to the end date of that obligation. All it does is establish that you cannot take on any new financial obligations after the date where dissolution is adopted. It has always been in law that you had the ability to dissolve an urban renewal agency. There just wasn't a process. This bill establishes that process and does so based on a timeline that has to be adopted and responded to at the local level through the city and the urban renewal agency. This is a good piece of legislation. I encourage your support.
For debate on the motion, Gentleman 26.
Mr. Speaker, for debate, please.
Gentleman has the floor.
For me, this is a really hard decision to have to make. I think a former governor has been quoted as saying the Magic Valley miracle, and that's all the economic progress the Magic Valley has made. Urban renewal is the only tool that our cities have had to finance that. It's a huge, important part. This bill does one really neat thing. It enables Chobani, which is a huge supporter of the Magic Valley, to double to triple their capacity, and it allows urban renewal as a tool to be used to fuel that. To me, that's exactly what urban renewal is for. But by listening to all the debate, it's pretty clear a lot of communities aren't lucky enough to have the expertise and the business acumen on their urban renewal boards, which have been appointed locally. Frankly, I would invite people to come down to Twin Falls and Jerome counties and cities and see how urban renewal is done correctly. The areas have been set very conservatively, they've been filled, their obligations have been paid off, and they've been able to open up and do other urban renewal agencies. The number one issue that I hear is your own local urban renewal boards. When they pay their debts off, they need to be dissolved and put that money, that property tax, equity, if you will, back on the tax market. And there's no better way to solve it from local boards to jump in and to do that. I really question especially the last part of it, is allowing all these different taxing districts to bail out of it. The whole point of urban renewal is, of course, emergency services, fire districts, and nobody's mentioned schools here. When we add these people to our communities, it increases a whole raft of costs for the community. And to grit your teeth and get through the few years that it takes to pay for the infrastructure to get the industry here, that's worth doing. If you start letting taxing districts bail out, you're back to the same problem that I think people behind the scenes are complaining about and drive this legislation. We're not retiring urban renewal districts. So it's, to me, it's a bit of cut your nose off to spite your face. And as much as we need this in our community to allow us to accommodate Chobani's expansion, the last part of this bill is really counterproductive. Thank you.
For debate on the motion, Gentleman 27.
I would just like to second what the gentleman from 26 said.
Gentleman wants to debate the bill.
I do very much want to debate this bill.
Gentleman has the floor.
So I've been on our urban renewal board since its inception, and I was on our economic development for about 10 years before urban renewal became available. In our area, in the Burley Rupert area, we lost the Simplot processing plant years ago, and we tried everything you could think of to get someone to move and relocate into Burley, and the best we did was some pole trailer manufacturer that brought 6 jobs, and we were so happy about that, we celebrated. When urban renewal became available, we put together probably one of the first ones in the area, And in the life of the first property, the first 20, which was originally for 24 years, you moved it to 20 years a while back, but I think we closed that one out at about 21 years. We were able to probably create between 2,500 and 3,000 jobs and between 18 and 20 businesses. And Burley is a different place than what it would have been. And I've been in some communities that could have used a good urban renewal district and an urban renewal committee to save their cities from becoming ghost towns in some instances. Over the period of time, like I said, we've closed some of the districts, we've opened smaller ones. I see the biggest danger to urban renewal is that there needs to be some decent training on urban renewal districts and urban renewal boards, so they don't go out and take this huge amount of property with no real plan of how it's going to ever develop. And it works much better with smaller pieces of property that you can see success and immediately get taxes back to the entities that made a sacrifice. All the entities in our area have been on board, except just recently, there's one being formed that's, hundreds of acres of nothing. But most of these boards and most of these services realize that without something, they would see no new income. And at the end of the period of time, when they get the full income back, the full tax revenue and the incremental difference, they're pretty excited. And actually the biggest challenge we've had in our urban renewal district was the constant barrage of new legislation coming from the state. Just when we get a program put up to where it's running well, then there's a new rule comes out. It seems like it's forever the target. And I think it's sad because I think most people don't really understand what urban renewal is become. Whether it should be that or not makes no difference. It has become that and has become very extremely effective. And as a result of these years of success we've had in Burley, I'll just share you one quick story and I'll sit down. Last summer in our meeting, we had a request to help another milk processing plant. And as chairman, I simply said, I don't think we should help anybody else because we don't have enough housing for people to come in. And so you can imagine the hired help panic because that's their job, is to get people to come to Burley. But everyone else on the board agreed. And next meeting, he reported that he went back and told the company that we weren't willing to help out. We had plenty of obligations. We didn't want to take on any more debt to get the sewer and water out to him. Their response was, no problem, we'll take care of it. And to me, that is the shining moment of a successful urban renewal district, is you've created an area where people want to be bad enough that they can make that commitment. And obviously, by making that commitment, we're competing against other communities that are offering great benefits for them to locate in their community. But they came to Burley. And so anyway, I would just be careful that we vote on things not to punish urban renewal districts or not to try and squelch them or get rid of them, but learn to understand their benefit. The loss of fire districts, and that is just another chip at the amount of revenue that you can generate in order to put in the sewer and the water and the utilities that these companies need to come to town. Anyway, that's all I got to say.
Thank you, gentlemen, for debate on the motion. Gentleman from 1.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To debate the bill.
Gentleman has the floor.
My limited experience with URDs is looking at the number that's on my tax bill when I was in Sandpoint, and it's a very big number. And the other aspect of my limited experience is they generally seem to be created in the interest of one or more corporations. I don't think I'm going to debate much longer than revealing the elephant that is often in the room with the urban renewal boards. They seem to be the very definition of corporatocracy. And I think the Idaho state legislature should embrace what is happening right now and vote this bill. This is a good bill. It deserves your green light. Let's vote yes.
Thank you, gentlemen, for the debate. Gentleman 25.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Debate.
Gentleman has the floor.
I'm from Twin Falls, District 25. We have a great urban renewal agency. I don't think we've ever done a project that created one new residential home, as may have happened in other areas. It's almost all been industrial type projects like Chobani. This bill does something that basically takes a parcel of land that is totally owned by one company, and they want to expand, dramatic expansion, and the property taxes on that one parcel will be used to help the city create sewer, water, etc., infrastructure for that project. The city also created the Urban Renewal Agency. We had one of the very first urban renewal projects in the state back in the 70s. We've had urban renewal this entire period of time. And I believe that this bill just gives clarity to how the city could undo an urban renewal agency if the city council so chose. I don't see any real problems as far as fire districts go. The city of Twin Falls has a great relationship with our fire district. The fire district takes care of all the properties outside the city, and the city takes care of all the fire inside. So we don't have a problem with the fire district conflict. I can imagine a few cities and counties might have a conflict with that, but I think it's logical, just like we do with highway districts, to let the highway district or the fire district make a decision. Is this going to create us future work? And if not, then they can just say, we don't need the extra money. But if it does impact their work requirements as a fire district, then they have the option of opting out. So I'm a green light, and I hope you all will be.
For debate on the motion, good lady from 2.
To debate in favor.
Lady has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Why I think this is a good bill is we need to get to the root of urban renewal districts. And I just did a quick search on what big corporations have benefited from urban renewal districts. Micron, Simplot, Albertson, Chopani, Cliff Bar, Lamb West, and Amazon. That's who's benefiting from urban renewal districts and who's paying our property tax. Our property taxes have increased. That's all I hear from my district is that the property taxes are too high. So this is a good bill to help start chipping away at the urban renewals. We really need to look at this as a body in the future on where our money's going, where our citizens' tax money is going, and how much they're really benefiting from these big corporations. So with that, I'd ask for your green light.
For debate on the motion. Hearing none, the gentleman with 22, clear the closed debate.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Now that I've started, I'm hoping we can't be interrupted and keep going, so we can move on. Mr. Speaker, just real briefly here. I just want to point out, fire districts are limited on what they can do as far as raising their levies. They're capped, 3% cap, unless there is new construction and other stuff, and they get up to 8%. But when you have a community that's growing by 20 and 30% and your rate is capped, you can't ever catch up. This allows them to be able to at least get that property tax value to protect the properties that they're being asked to protect. I don't think they should have ever been included in urban renewal districts from day one. This just puts us into where they should be. Again, they can't get out of one if there's indebtedness. They can't. If there's indebtedness, they can't get out. It has to be where there's no indebtedness so that nothing goes on. The existing ones, we're probably not changing much there at all. But for a new one going forward, allow the fire districts the option to opt in. I think that's important. It was said in committee, and it was said again, we're going to allow all these districts to opt out, and there'll be no money left over. We're talking about fire districts, and that's it. That's what we're talking about. And again, this is taking money from them, from their growth, and we're shifting it over to a group of unelected individuals who get to decide on how they want to spend that money. Mr. Speaker, the city's created these revenue allocation areas through urban renewal districts. Okay, you have a revenue allocation area, you have a district controls a revenue allocation area. There can be multiple revenue allocation areas. This language also provides there that you can stop just the revenue allocation area as well. If you don't want to get the whole district, you can just do the revenue allocation area. I think the cities should have this ability. They should have the ability to stop something that they started. Why on earth wouldn't they be allowed to do that? Again, if there's indebtedness, they can't. You can't go back on those bond payments that you're already making. But this is good legislation. Let's help out our fire districts. Let's give the cities the same tool that they already have. Let's give them some additional tools that they can work with as well. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, gentlemen. Debate is closed. Question is House Bill 436 pass the House. Clerk will unlock the machine. Members will cast their votes. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Clerk will lock the machine, record the roll, and read the pairs. Excuse me.
Orman votes aye. Birch votes nay. Raymond votes aye. Achilles votes nay.
57 ayes, 13 nay. Majority having voted in favor of House Bill 436. House Bill 436 pass House. Correction title.
No correction to title.
Hearing none, the title is approved. Bill will be transmitted to the Senate. Gentleman from 22.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask unanimous consent that House Bill 455 and House Bill 263 as amended on the Senate hold their place one legislative day.
Unanimous consent has been requested. Is there objection? Hearing none, so ordered. And the House, the gentleman 22.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We've got a guest in our gallery. I'd love if we could pull up a bill to be able to take care of that right now. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that House Joint Memorial 8 be placed at the top of the third reading calendar.
Unanimous consent has been requested that we move House Joint Memorial 8 to the top of the third reading calendar. Is there objection? Hearing none, the House will have in consideration House Joint Memorial number 8. Gentleman from 14.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I request unanimous consent to suspend for the reading of House Joint Memorial 8.
Unanimous consent has been requested. Is there objection? Hearing none, gentleman has the floor. Joint Memorial.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, first off, I'd say this House Joint Memorial is somewhat sad, and but it does give me great pleasure to actually be able to bring this Joint Memorial forward, just because of who it actually has to do with. So this Joint Memorial is to honor Alex J. Adams, or Dr. Adams, or Director Adams, for a significant contribution in greater transparency, innovation, and fiscal responsibility here in Idaho. A little bit about Dr. Adams. He got his bachelor's degree and doctorate of pharmacy from the University of Toledo, valedictorian, of course, no shocker. But he also obtained his master's of public health from Johns Hopkins, and he currently resides in Eagle with his wife Jen and his daughter Emerson. Dr. Adams first served as the executive director of the State Board of Pharmacy, where he was able to massively reduce regulations by 40%, leading to a greater expansion of pharmacies to underserved areas across the state. He then moved on to the administrator of Division of Financial Management, where he led the state in our first AAA credit rating from Fitch and Moody's, which was an incredible feat to actually get us there, and we've been able to maintain that since. Within that, he actually helped create some very innovative policies, financial policies, that has led Idaho to be even a better state than what it was when he took that role. Then he took the role of Director for Health and Welfare of May of 2024. In that very short term, he shined a very bright light into an agency that was hard to grasp and understand. Within that, he put a massive focus on the foster care system, not just the kids within that, making sure that he offered or put policies forward that allowed them to be able to stay in their homes and give the family more support. But he also put a focus on the foster care families that were actually out there throughout the great state, increasing that ratio over 26% in just a very short time. By doing that, he's kept kids out of cognitive care, which again, these kids are already being in a tough area and a tough place, but being able to keep them into foster families was a massive thing that he kind of took on when he came in there and put a massive focus on with the entirety of the agency, and we have seen tremendous results in just a very short time. So it just shows you what an innovative thinking type person can do if they actually come in, put their mind to it, put their feet the agency's feet in the right direction. They can accomplish mass amounts. So with that, I'm sure other people probably have things to say about him, but he's been an amazing person. And in March of 2025, he was appointed by President Donald Trump to serve as the administrative assistant for the Administration of Child and Families for the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services under Robert F. Kennedy Jr. That is where I think the sadness comes, because it is going to be a loss for Idaho, but I think what he can actually do at a federal level will all leave this country in a better place. So that I'd ask for your support for this House Joint Memorial.
Delay from 18.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I was so delighted to be a co-sponsor on this motion for my very dear, long-standing friend, Alex, who I've been working with since way back in his days at the Board of Pharmacy. In fact, I will always think of you whenever I go and I'm able to buy eye drops without having to spend a day at the doctor's. You always have an eye out for practical ways to help people, and I'm so thankful we were able to move that foster care bill. I really appreciate the laser focus that you've brought to helping these kids that have been dealt the hardest hand in life. Godspeed to you in Washington, D.C. I feel marginally better about what's happening in Washington knowing you'll be out there. And you can always include me on any text chain you want when you get there.
That scares the hell out of me. Further debate on the motion. Delay from 6.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, to debate the bill.
Lady has the
So I moved this session to health and welfare, and one of the main reasons I wanted to serve was to serve with this great gentleman that I've gotten to know over the years that I've been here. I've learned a lot from you, Alex, and I have appreciated your candor, your wisdom, and while I'm sad to see you go, I am excited to see what we can do and what you can do and to bring at the United States level, because we certainly need some good conservative eyes there, and I'm really looking forward to hearing from you. And I too would be very happy to take any text at any time during the day or night. Thank you.
Further debate on the motion. Delay from 18.
Thank you, Speaker. To debate in favor.
Lady has the floor.
Thank you, Speaker. I just want to, ditto to everything that was already mentioned here, but also just to add a little bit. When I came forward with my recent breast cancer enhancement bill, one of the first people to reach out to me was Alex. And, he dove in deep within his department to find a mechanism in which we can also make that enhancement. Well, we didn't necessarily find it this year, but I just want to say, it resonates with me when somebody is willing to go ahead and dig in a little bit deeper. He has been a great asset to Idaho. Certainly going to miss him, miss his wonderful wife as well. You guys are going to do great things. And we do hope that you don't forget about our little state over here. Your lens of what you're doing in D.C. is going to be a tremendous help to us. Thank you.
Further debate on the motion. Gentleman from 1.
To debate, Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman has the floor.
So this was going to be my first joint memorial that I was going to vote no on. I want to just really quickly speak from the perspective of a freshman. I didn't know what to expect when dealing with agency heads, and Dr. Adams set the bar very high. I was always treated with respect. I got quick answers, and he never tried to, he and his proteges, I guess, I'm hoping he's got somebody trained up. That's one of the concerns I have. But he and the people that work with him were very quick to answer questions. They gave good advice, and I do like Donald Trump, but not as much as I did yesterday. So with that, Mr. Speaker, I think we should all give this a green light, but I'll be sorry to do that.
For the debate, gentleman 3.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, to debate the memorial.
Gentleman has the floor.
My first interaction with Alex was actually through my father, who served here over 10 years ago. And he had told me about this young, brilliant gentleman working here for the state named Alex Adams. And after I met him, my dad actually undersold him. So Alex has been a great friend over time, actually learning a lot from him. I think, he was really the impetus for the red tape reduction and making us the least regulated state in the country. So I think that he's going to be a great asset to the Trump administration, but we are sorry to see him leave, and again, hope that you will return here from time to time to pay us a visit. Thank you.
Thank you for the debate on the motion. Gentleman 12.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, to the debate memorial.
Gentleman has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So like the gentleman from District 3, I didn't know Alex until I got here. But I quickly got to know Alex as a friend, but also as someone who I highly, highly respect in this building. I wrote a couple of notes down. One of the first pieces of legislation that I carried was a deregulation bill in my first year. And Alex had brought it to me and asked me to carry it. And he's done that a couple of times to me. And I'm always like, Alex, what does this even do? And Alex thinks on a whole nother level. I'm like, you're gonna have to bring it down so I can understand what we're doing here. And he's so patient to go over something 3 and 4 times till you actually get it. And you're like, oh, that's really smart. But such a gifted mind. I've called him Idaho's Elon Musk. And I genuinely believe that with the gentleman from District 3 carrying that bill earlier this year that was 150 some pages of red tape reduction. Unbelievable work by Alex on that, and the gentleman from District 3. I was putting together this idea. We talked about it in leadership meeting one morning with the speaker and a majority leader and assistant majority leader about if we're going to doge.
I don't know who this guy is, but if he's going to work with Robert Kennedy Jr., and he also is the Musk of Idaho, all I can say is good riddance out of Idaho. Unfortunately, the country's going to suffer. And by the way, deregulation is an open door for rich guys to take advantage of the little guy.
God bless.
Thank you for the debate on the motion. Good lady from 33.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, to debate.
Yes, floor.
I will be quick. Alex, very impressive from the moment we met you. But if I could, let me say something to Emerson. Emerson, you have an awesome daddy and mommy. And what I hope you guys do when you go to D.C. is you take the family spirit with you, the very spirit that Idaho's built on, and you share that with D.C., and you help our nation become stronger with our families. Thank you for what you've done.
For the debate on the motion. Gentleman 22.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My seatmate's not here right now, and he made me promise that I would do something. If I thought it had anything to do that would stop Alex from leaving, I would not have allowed this bill to come up on the floor. I'd have held it, I'd have buried it, would have done whatever we can, but I don't think it's going to stop him from going, which makes me a little sad. You guys have heard a lot of good stuff about Alex, is what he's done with legislation. I'm not going to get into what he has done for me personally, but he's done a lot. And I appreciate it.
Starting to sound like the Senate. For the debate on the motion. Gentleman 13.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Alex sat on this floor for
Gentleman has the floor to debate.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I've sat on this floor for 19 years, and I've seen a lot of joint memorials. I've seen a lot of, whether it's been Idaho lawmakers or directors honored. But as Representative Palmer said to me, he goes, I've never seen this many people stand up and honor a gentleman. And not just Republicans, but Democrats. It shows your ability to work across the aisle. What I will never forget about you is you and Bobby Joe calling up repeatedly, hey, let's go to lunch, let's chat. I miss those times, and I will miss those times. But I want you to know there will always be an Andy's Mint for you in my office. Don't ever forget where you come from. You're gonna make us proud. Go do great things in Washington.
For the debate on the motion. Hearing none, and hearing no negative debate. Debate is closed. Question is, House Joint Memorial 8 pass the House. Clerk will unlock the machine. Members will cast the roll. Has every member voted? Marvin, Representative Marvin. Did everybody change their vote? The clerk will lock the machine and record the roll. 66 aye, 1 nay, 3 absent and excused. Majority having voted in favor of House Joint Memorial 8. House Joint Memorial 8 has passed the House. Is there correction title?
No correction to title.
Hearing none, the title is approved, and the joint memorial will be transferred to the Senate. The House will be at ease while we recognize Alex. Alex, just a quick comment to tell you that you have a lot of people on this floor that love and care about you, and a lot of people in this state, and your impact here is lasting and will be lasting. And we hope that when you get done with those crazy people back east, you'll come back and be in Idaho with us. Know you're loved and appreciated, and stay in touch. And I do not want to be on your text message. There's too much press. With that, the House will be back in order. House will have under consideration House Bill 3, Good Job 22.
I ask unanimous consent that House Bill 109 as amended in the Senate be placed on the top of the third reading calendar.
Unanimous consent has been requested to place House Bill 109 as amended in the Senate on the top of the third reading calendar. Is objection? Hearing none, so ordered, and the House will have under consideration House Bill 109 is amended in the Senate. Good Job 3.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask for unanimous consent to dispense with further reading of House Bill 109 as amended in the Senate.
Gentleman has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I better stop. Is there an objection? Hearing none, the gentleman has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Fitting with the good director's new role with the Department of Health and Human Services, House Bill 109 seeks to address some issues that we have over there. Mr. Speaker, this bill passed our body earlier this session. The Senate made an amendment to the candy definition to make it more seamless transition for the retailers. It was at their request, and it's a friendly amendment. This bill passed out of the Senate 25-10 last week. I appreciate the quote from the good gentleman from 19 last week when he said that programs for the poor are often poor programs. This bill seeks to make the SNAP program a better program. The purpose of this legislation is to ensure that as a state, we're giving people on the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program more nutritious and healthier options. And not perpetuating obesity and disease in that population. I actually see this bill as a bipartisan bill in that it provides better health outcomes for those in need. I think that because of the current federal administration's outspokenness on this type of legislation, it has become partisan, but I would ask everybody in this body to actually look and try to find a way that we can help this population with better outcomes. I believe this is a good step forward for our state in being good stewards of taxpayer dollars and providing better, healthier outcomes for people in the state of Idaho. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask for your green light.
Thank you, gentlemen, for the motion, for the bail motion. Hearing none, hearing no debate, debate is closed. Question issue, House Bill 109 is amended in the Senate. Pass the House. Clerk will unlock the machine, and the members will cast their votes. Has every member voted? Has any members changed their vote? Clerk will lock the machine and report the pairs.
Mormon votes aye. Thompson votes nay.
48 ayes, 20 nay, 2 absent, excused. Majority having voted in favor of House Bill 109 is amended in the Senate. House Bill 109 is amended in the Senate. Pass the House. Is there correction to title?
No correction to title.
Hearing none, the title is approved. Bill will be transferred to the Senate. Enrolling. Excuse me. I always do it wrong. Sent to the Judiciary Rules Administration Committee for enrolling. The House will now have before it House Bill 357 is amended in the Senate. Good gentleman from 6.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask unanimous consent to dispense with further reading of House Bill 357 as amended in the Senate.
That's consent been requested. Is there objection? Hearing none, the gentleman has the floor to present the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Some of you may remember back on March 3rd, we passed this out of the House 61, 6, and 3. What this is this is what puts government or puts our oversight over the funding that's being spent for America 250. It does not add any funds to that account. It just moves we'll be just moving those monies over when we get to that bill. But this is actually designed so that we have the oversight, so that the money is being spent the way that our taxpayers want us to spend it. And so with that, the only changes on this was that they wanted to clarify and make sure that we had our group, and then it separated what the governor might be doing on his, and that's all the changes are on this. So with that, I would ask for your green light.
Hey, gentlemen, you heard the motion. Is further debate on the motion? Hearing none, hearing no negative debate, base closed. Question is, shall House Bill 357 as amended in the Senate pass the House? Clerk will mark machine. Members cast their votes. Has every member voted? Birch. Has anyone else changed their vote? Clerk will lock machine, record the roll. Read the pairs, I think.
Mormon votes aye. Hostetler votes nay.
61 ayes, 8 nay, 1 absent, and excused. Majority having voted in favor of House Bill 357 as amended in the Senate. House Bill 357 as amended in the Senate is passed. House. Correction title.
No correction to title.
Hearing none, the bill will be referred to the Judiciary Rules Administration Committee for ruling. The House will now have before it House Bill 271 as amended in the Senate. Good lady from 9, excuse me.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask that we dispense with further reading, unanimous consent, that we dispense with further reading of House Bill 271 as amended in the Senate.
Unanimous consent has been requested. Is there objection? Hearing none, the good lady has the floor to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Senate amended this bill. This is our prohibition on advertising illegal products. They changed the word from products to illegal drugs, and that's about it. So I would ask for your green vote. Thank you.
Thank you, lady, for the motion. Further debate on the motion. Hearing none, hearing no negative debate, debate is closed. Question is, shall House Bill 271 as amended in the Senate pass the House? Clerk will unlock the machine and the members will cast their votes. Has every member voted? Tanner 14, Bell, Birch, Ehart, push it again. Oh. Does anyone else change their vote? Clerk will watch and record the roll. 50 ayes, 20, and read the pairs.
Mormon votes aye. Hostetler votes nay. Raymond votes aye. Achilles votes nay.
58 ayes, 20 nays, majority having voted in favor of House Bill 271 as amended in the Senate. House Bill 271 is amended in the Senate is passed the House. Correction title.
No correction to title.
Hearing on the bill referred to the Judiciary Rules and Administration Committee for enrolling. The House will now have before it House Bill 368 as amended in the Senate. Good gentleman, 29.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd ask for unanimous consent to dispense with further reading of House Bill 368 as amended in the Senate.
Unanimous consent has been requested. Is there objection? Hearing none, gentleman has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 368 comes back to us with some negotiated amendments from the Senate. This is the whammy bill. We changed the shall reduce by 10 seats to a may reduce by 10 seats. This leaves us in control with the appropriation process as we go forward on how we allocate non-whammy seats moving forward. The other change that came from the Senate is a clarification to make sure that working group that got put together will have a member of the House and a member of the Senate putting together that medical education plan this year. And I would ask for your continued support. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, gentlemen. Heard the motion for debate on motion. Hearing none, debate is closed. Question is, House Bill 368 is amended in the Senate, pass the House. The clerk will lock the machine. Members will cast their votes. Has every member voted? Crane 13. Z members change their vote. Green. Clerk will lock the machine and report the pairs.
Mormon votes aye. Hostetler votes nay. Raymond votes aye. Thompson votes nay.
55 ayes, 15 nay. The majority having voted in favor of the motion, House Bill 368 is passed House. Correction title.
No correction to title.
Hearing none, House Bill 368 is amended in the Senate, referred to the Judiciary Rules and Administration Committee for enrolling. The House will now have before it House Bill 464. Good gentleman, 21.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask unanimous consent to dispense with further reading of House Bill 464.
Unanimous consent has been requested. Is there objection? Hearing none, the gentleman has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 464 is the enhancement budget for the Department of Education. That's the superintendent's Department of Education, and this reflects her request. We made quite a few changes to this budget in the working group from what the superintendent requested. I'd point out a few things in particular. For one, we moved 2 line items over from central services because we felt like this budget was a more appropriate place to put them. Both of those line items and their number 10 and number 12, we pretty significantly reduced the cost because we felt like these levels were a more appropriate level to fund those line items at. There's a supplemental and a line item number 7 related to the school bus camera fund. This relates to House Bill number 610 from last year, if you remember, that was trying to encourage safe driving around school buses. That legislation is producing some revenue, and these line items give the department the spending authority so they can spend that revenue to get school buses more cameras to try to stop some of those safety problems that we've been seeing. Line item number 5, the student assessment development, was a pretty significant request. It was $2.7 million originally. This relates to the ISAT and getting a new contract for the ISAT. We reduced that line item pretty significantly down to $500,000 because we felt like that was a more appropriate amount to start with. We may have to go back and add more funding to that next year depending on how the RFP process goes with the department looking for a new contract for that assessment. But for now, we felt like this amount was adequate to fund that particular piece of this budget. With that, Mr. Speaker, we did cut a total of almost $3 million out of the request in this budget. Of the $2.4 million that we're adding, almost all of it is federal grant money. Almost all of it is one time. Only a couple $100,000 of it is ongoing funding. With that, I would ask for your green light.
Thank you, gentlemen, for the motion. For debate on the motion. Gentleman, 25.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the good gentleman from 21 yield for a question?
Gentleman yield to a question.
Sure, Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman yields.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. How many vacancies are there currently within that division?
Gentleman, 21.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good gentleman, that's a good question. There are currently 5 vacancies, all of which they are trying to fill. You'll notice that on line item number 1, we gave them the funding for that position, but we did not give them the FTP because of the vacancies that they had. Honestly, with a little bit over 100 full-time positions that they have authorized with only 5 vacancies, that's a really low vacancy rate.
Gentleman, 25.
To debate the bill, Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman has the floor.
This doesn't increase one full-time position. I'd rather go and see that that offset as far as those 5 vacancies go, and have that one vacancy or that one position taken up by one of those vacancies. It also takes a lot of federal money, and it's an increase of 5.8% over the maintenance budget. And so with that, I won't be voting for this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. It's for debate on the motion. Hearing none, the gentleman 21 care to close debate. Debate is closed. Question is, House Bill 464 pass the House. Clerk will lock machine. Members cast the votes. Has every member voted? Mitchell, Price. Does any members change their vote? Clerk will lock machine and report the pairs.
Orman votes aye. Hostetler votes nay.
46 ayes, 24 nay. Oops, more than one.
Raymond votes aye. Thompson votes nay.
46 ayes, 24 nays. Majority having voted in favor of House Bill 464. House Bill 464 has passed House. Correction title.
No correction to title.
Hearing none, the title is approved. Bill will be transmitted to the Senate. The House will now have before it House Bill 465. Gentleman 21.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd ask unanimous consent to dispense with any further reading of House Bill 465.
That consent's been requested. Is there objection? Hearing none, gentleman has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 465 is part of the K-12 budget. This is the student support category of the K-12 budget. You might remember last year, those of you who were here, that we combined a few different divisions to create this particular part of the K-12 budget, and those were administrators, children's programs, and operations. So this budget contains a lot of the various line items that go out to public schools, everything from discretionary funds to technology, transportation, and administrative salary support. There's really only 2 things in this budget to talk about, 2 line items that I want to hit on. Number 1 is the federally funded programs. You see a $9.5 million line item there. What this is our existing federal grants that come in for education. And so these are primarily special education, the nutrition support for free and reduced lunches, and for low-income students. All those federal grants, we have a cap on how much the department, on how much our schools can take in every year, and we have now hit that cap. And so we are raising that cap by $9.5 million because the amount that's coming in for those various federal programs has gone up. You know, for example, obviously the cost of food has gone up, therefore the feds have increased the amount that they are giving us for the nutrition program through K-12 schools. So that is what that is. It's just an increase in our existing amounts because we have increased funds coming in from the federal government for K-12. I'd also like to point out the population forecast adjustment line item. And what that is, we used to call this non-discretionary, and basically it reflects the changes in the number of students and actually support units that our public schools are being funded at. So there's a handout on your desk, you'll notice, that has the fall enrollment for Idaho Public Schools. That shows the enrollment by grade for each year going back about 10 years. And you'll notice that there is a big difference between the first grade class this year and the 12th grade class. In fact, there's a couple thousand less first grade students compared to 12th grade students. What that means is the number of students that are in our public school system is actually trending down because of demographics. For that reason, we have about 200 fewer support units that we're funding based on this year. And that's why you see that the population forecast adjustment is actually a negative number. It reflects a decrease in the number of support units that we are funding because we have fewer students that are moving through the system because of these demographic changes. With that, Mr. Speaker, I'd be happy to answer any questions and would encourage a green light.
Thank you, gentlemen. Is there further debate on the motion? Hearing none, hearing no negative debate. Debate is closed. Question is, House Bill 465 pass the House. Clerk will knock the machine, and the members will cast their votes. Has every member voted? Does any members change their vote? Clerk will lock the machine and report the pairs.
Orman votes aye. Hostetler votes nay. Raymond votes aye. Thompson votes nay.
50 ayes, 20 nays. Majority having voted in favor of House Bill 465. House Bill 465 is passed House. Correction title.
No correction to title.
Hearing none, the title is approved. Bill will transfer to Senate. The House will have before it House Bill 466. Good gentleman from 6. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask unanimous consent to dispense with further reading of House Bill 466. As consent has been requested, is there objection? Hearing none, gentleman has the floor. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. What you have before you is the follow-up to what we just discussed a little bit ago about the America 250. It's important to note that this does not increase any spending. What this does is it moves it from one account to another, which gives us that oversight. And I think it's important to remember that. This is not, we're not adding to it. We're just moving what currently is in the fund over to another fund, so that we have the discretionary ability to discuss how that's spent. There's a total of $821,000 basically that has not been spent from the 130 or 1.6 that we appropriated last year, and that's the money that's being moved over. So it's just a simple net zero change where we're moving it from one area to another. This is not their enhancement budget. This is not any of their budget. This is just a simple move of funds, and I think that's important. So with that, I'd ask for your green light. Thank you, gentlemen, for the debate on the motion. Hearing none, no debate. Debate is closed. Question is, House Bill 466 pass the House. Clerk will lock the sheet, and the members will cast their votes. Has every member voted? Does anyone wish to change their vote? Clerk will lock the sheet and report the pair.
Mormon votes aye. Hostetler votes nay.
65 ayes, 5 nays, majority having voted in favor of House Bill 466. House Bill 466 passed House. Correction title.
No correction to title.
Hearing none, the title is approved. Bill will be transferred to the Senate. Without objection, the House will now advance to the 15th order of business, announcements. The House at the 15th order of business. Are there announcements? Hearing none, the clerk may read.
House Business Committee will not meet Monday, March 31st. Clow Chairman. House Judiciary Rules and Administration Committee will meet Monday, March 31st, 1:30 p.m. East Wing Room 42, SCOG. Chairman. House Resources and Conservation Committee will not meet Monday, March 31st. Mendive. Chairman. House Ways and Means Committee will meet Monday, March 31st. Time subject to call of the chair. East Wing Room 5, Ehlers. Chairman. For tomorrow, House Education Committee will meet subject to call of the chair. Pickett. Chairman. And House State Affairs Committee will meet Tuesday, April 1st, 9 a.m. East Wing Room 40, Crane 13. Chairman.
Are there further announcements? Hearing none, Gentleman 22.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the House now recess until the hour of 3 p.m.
Late 18.
Mr. Speaker, I second the motion.
For the motion, the House recess until the hour of 3 p.m. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say nay. Motion passes. House will be recessed until the hour of 3 p.m.
We now return to our regularly scheduled programming. For complete legislative coverage, watch or stream Idaho Reports or Idaho in Session at idahoptv.org. Hardware and closed captioning for Idaho in Session is provided by the Idaho Legislature and Idaho Legislative Services Office. Additional funding is provided by the Idaho Public Television Endowment. We now return to our regularly scheduled programming.
Offering outdoor adventures and small town charm. Details online at visitsmithcountyva.com.
Spending time on farms is a remembrance of agricultural common phrases. When are we planting? When will it rain? And of course, when will we bear fruit? One of the earliest culinary innovations in human history is wine, which necessitates a thorough understanding of domestication and handling of grapes. Today, there are 18 million acres of vineyards across 60 countries with 110,000 wineries. Who knew that fermenting a bunch of grapes, squeezing them, and pouring them into a bottle would result in the most complex and delicious liquid? And, with the exception of religion or politics, is one of the most discussed and beloved subjects in the world. A vineyard is a type of kingdom with practices, rituals, and principles. And if you know anything about kingdom principles, all life flows from the vine. A grape's identity is dependent on the vine to provide essential nutrients for the branch to survive and thrive. As long as the vine remains inside the branch, and the branch remains inside the vine, then it will indeed bear fruit. Apart from the vine, the branch exists, but can do absolutely nothing. The symbiotic union between the vine and the branch produces a pressed liquid history with a heavenly destiny for tomorrow. Hi, I'm Chef Missy, and I'm the French Magnolia, a true blue Southern gal with French ancestry running through my veins. My husband Thomas is a wine expert and hospitality veteran. Throughout our careers, we've worked for some incredible restaurants and hotels, from Atlanta to New York City to Charleston, South Carolina, to the edge of a mountain at a 5-star Relayan chateau. But pretty soon, the French Magnolia, a luxury movable feast company, was born. We pour into your home and set an elaborate stage for a multi-course culinary and wine experience. We settled in Bristol, Virginia, a good place to live. And when we're not working, we love connecting with local farms and Appalachian culture. From farm, field, garden, and stream, to chef and somm, to the table, all in one day. This is the French Magnolia Cooks. Today we're in Abingdon, Virginia, about 20 minutes from Bristol, where we're catching up with Lauren Gardner, who owns and operates Abingdon Vineyards. Lauren is a 7th-generation Napa Valley guy turned Southwest Virginia farmer. And boy, are we blessed to have him as a friend and neighbor. Lauren, we are finally here at Abingdon Vineyards in Abingdon, Virginia. Thank you so much for letting us be here. This is spectacular.
Welcome to the winery. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Now, Lauren, you were born and raised in Northern California, right?
Yep.
And your background comes out of Napa.
Specifically Napa. My family settled there in 1818, before it was a state. My father developed a vineyard management company and a heavy earth-moving construction company in the 50s. A lot of the infrastructure in Napa Valley, from the ponds, irrigation ponds, the roads, the vineyard prep, is done with heavy equipment. So that's some of my earliest memories, are the smell of diesel and dirt and walking through a vineyard that is being developed.
A lot of people think they're just going to buy a lot of land and plant grapes and watch them grow and then drink great wine. But there is so much infrastructure that goes into just grading the land and preparing it for the planting.
Grape growing is one of the hardest farming practices in the world. There's so much that can go wrong, from disease pressure to climate change to late spring frost. Everything on the planet wants to eat a grape, from bees, birds, bugs, deer, bears, everything, especially here in Southwest Virginia where the biodiversity is so vast. We also have to protect the crop from a lot of potential damage.
What brings an educated wine grower to Southwest Virginia to do what you're doing here?
Pretentiousness in the engine of the wine country in California has just gotten out of control. Price points are so high, the land values are unapproachable, and the cost of the grapes, the raw material for the wine, is so expensive that there was no chance that I'd ever be able to own a winery in Napa Valley. I found this little slice of heaven here in Southwest Virginia, right along the river, with a creek that runs through the middle of the winery property. I just couldn't have asked for something better. When I drove across the bridge the first time, I knew that it had heart and that I could make it my own. You've had the wine, it's very rewarding at the end, and something that is iconoclastic and so historic, and the beauty and the history and the science and everything that involves to create art. And that's why I love the industry so much.
We want to be part of things that are ancient.
The inventors and the creators and the artists, if you will, that create this product are making a product that they know will outlive them.
Ultimately, we want to leave things better than when we found them.
We have a huge responsibility to the vineyard and our farming practices to not contaminate the water. South Holston River is one of the purest water sources in the country and clean at this elevation. So this vine is between 15 and 17 years old. So it's my belief in my practice here in Southwest Virginia growing grapes that we want as much time as possible to develop the sugars and the phenolic quality within that grape. The vine wants to produce a lot of this cane per year. We only need 7 to 10 leaves per cane in order to develop the structure in the grape that we're looking for. So we hedge this cane and try to keep it at the top of the trellis wire in order to keep it vertically shoot positioned, and that allows for the maximum exposure to the leaves and to the grapes and produces the highest quality fruit. We come in after the berry set has happened. We'll pull the leaves off from around the tiny little cluster to expose it to the sun. After today's harvest, the grapevine has done its job. We just leave it alone until February when we're going to come back and prune prior to bud break in spring.
You want the vine to struggle a little bit because it's going to naturally go deeper and deeper and deeper in search of water.
Absolutely. My philosophy is to plant on as steep a slope as you can to get the water to drain off as quickly as possible.
The deeper the struggle, the more intense the struggle, the more intense the character in the wine.
I could say the same about humans, right?
Right.
You know,
That's
you
right.
develop character throughout your experiences in life, and similarly with the grapevine, it's a very symbiotic relationship. I own and use a Antonio Carrara Mach 4 tractor that is developed in Italy for very, very steep terrain. The juice is going to bed. Night, night.
And that is fantastic.
We are back here in the French Magnolia Culinary Center, and Thomas and I have had a beautiful couple of days with Lauren Gardner of Abingdon Vineyards. And Lauren and his adorable girlfriend Katie are joining us for dinner tonight. Okay, macerating fruit is really fun. And in this situation, obviously, we're working with grapes, but the maceration process will soften the fruit and it will amplify the flavor and it will create a liquid syrup that's very flavorful. That's wonderful to use with desserts, with cakes, with pies, with muffins. Just having it over ice cream is wonderful. Anything that you would use fruit for, you can use the macerated fruit for. Macerating fruit involves sugar, acid, and some kind of liquid. Today we're going to be using a French orange liqueur. I have set aside 4 quarts of organic seedless grapes. You're going to add 4 tablespoons of sugar for every quart. That's 1 tablespoon per cup of fruit. And then just give it a good stir. Okay, final quart. And a final stir. And we're going to set this aside and let it sit for 1 hour. These grapes have been sitting in that sugar for about an hour. We're going to zest 4 lemons, and we're going to use the juice of all 4 lemons. And the final step, to add the French orange liqueur. Get your lids on nice and tight. Are ready for the refrigerator. These want to chill for a minimum of 4 hours. This is a wine lover's grape cake, and it has lemon zest and orange zest and our beautiful organic seedless grapes. Okay, the first thing you want to do is get your oven preheated to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Step 2, beating your eggs and sugar together. We're going to use 2 organic eggs, 2/3 of a cup organic sugar, and then whisk together. Then add 1/3 of a cup of whole milk and 1/4 cup organic extra virgin olive oil, 4 tablespoons of melted butter, and 1/2 teaspoon of good quality Madagascar vanilla ×2, and then whisk together. Okay, now for the flour, salt, and baking powder. 1.5 cups of good organic flour. Then just take your hand and just tap the side of the sieve, a generous pinch of salt, and just shy of 1 teaspoon of baking powder. Now, we're gonna add the zest of 2 lemons and 2 oranges. Now add the juice of 1 whole lemon. Now just gently fold in the wet batter into your flour. I can hear our dogs going nuts outside, which leads me to believe that maybe our guests are early. So I want to quickly get this in the oven. And after I smash and mash the flour, I'm just going to give it a good whisking, just to make sure that everything is generously blended together. I'm using a 9-inch non-stick springform pan. And then I like to do just a little light dusting of flour inside the springform. I'm going to go ahead and add 1 cup of grapes to our batter. Now pop this in the oven at 350 for 15 minutes. Okay, it's been 15 minutes. I'm gonna take a few more grapes and scatter them on top. Okay, the grape cake is back in the oven for 40 minutes. Okay, if there was anything more delicious than homemade whipped cream, it would be chantilly cream. This is so simple and absolutely spectacularly delicious. Here it is: sour cream, confectioner sugar, and vanilla. That's it.
Sour cream in a bowl. This is about 4 cups. We're gonna sprinkle 2 cups of confectioner sugar into the sour cream. The chantilly cream is gonna be your new favorite thing. You're gonna be looking for excuses to have it. And then finish it off with a heaping tablespoon of fresh Madagascar vanilla. Perfect. We're gonna wrap this, set it in the fridge. It's all ready for us for tonight. Okay, our wine lover's grape cake is done.
Hi, good to see you.
Hi. Welcome. Oh, good to see you. Hi. I know. I'm here with the baking. We made it. I know. Good. Come on in.
So I brought a little treat if you want some.
Yay treats! Yay treats!
As long as it's wine, right?
Exactly.
So this is Alsatian French wine. So from the region of Alsace in France, and it's a small little place. It's on the border of France, next to Germany, just right above Switzerland. So there's a mountain range on this side of Germany, and it kind of slopes down to a river, Rhine, the Rhine River. Okay, and on the hillside is Alsace. A lot of people think of this area, and they naturally think Riesling.
Wait, I have a question.
Oh, you do already?
Is Riesling a grape?
Riesling is a grape.
Gotcha.
Right. So is Gewürztraminer, right? Both of those grapes are in this wine. Most of the wines in this area are blends. Almost all of it is white. The style in the Alsatian region is dry. In addition to Gewürztraminer and Riesling, grapes in this model are Pinot Gris, Pinot Blanc, and Muscat. Part of the regulation for a Gentile label is that it has to be 50% those grapes. And those are noble grapes, okay? They're their own classification because those grapes are only grown in Grand Cru vineyards. That means you're experiencing a place and time through a living organism into something living right now.
Cheers!
Try this, yeah.
Salud.
Salud.
I'm so happy to be here with you guys. This is so awesome.
Yay! For our main course, we are going to do a grape and blue cheese stuffed venison loin. Grape and blue cheese are flavors that were born to go together. So these are the venison loins. They have been air drying in the refrigerator for 3 to 4 days. Now the reason I want to do that is so that all of the rest of the blood has an opportunity to drain out and away from the meat. I'm going to show you a very easy method for butterflying the tenderloin. With your knife, a very sharp knife, at the fat end, just give it a nice score down the center, okay? All the way to the tip. And then run your finger kind of down there, see how deep you got it, and then just kind of keep slowly making a score. Running your finger down, and then making another score. Running your finger down, making sure that you don't cut all the way through to the other side. And if that happens, it's okay. It's not the end of the world at all. Starting on the left side, I'm going to just run my knife along this section, now to the left, opening it up like an envelope. Again, moving a little centimeter over with your knife, coming down, then run your finger along the edge. So see how this is opening up like an envelope? And then just keep working it. The stuffing is going to end up in these wonderful little pockets of the envelope. And then we're going to flip it and work the other side. I'm going to give this a quick olive oil drizzle of it down. Olive oil, little salt, cracked pepper. Okay, these venison loin have been cleaned and butterflied, salt, pepper, ready to go. I'm going to set those aside for just a minute. while we make our stuffing. 2 sticks of organic salted butter, 2 cups of good high quality blue cheese. And just get this working together, mashing the blue cheese in with the butter, 1/2 cup chopped fresh garlic. Garlic is in the onion family, okay? And when we use garlic raw, it's going to produce a sharp, pungent, almost horseradish type heat to the dish. And then when we saute garlic, because it's in the onion family, it's high in sugar, those sugars are gonna start releasing out of the garlic and it's gonna become sweet. 1/2 cup chopped shallots. Smash and mash it. 2 cups of chopped seedless organic grapes.
I've been eating venison my
Okay.
entire life, and this is unique to me right now, and I'm very, very excited.
Really?
I'm very excited.
Wow. Okay, we almost have these venison loins trussed, but I left one to show you what I did and how I did it. I'm gonna start to just run my kitchen string or twine down nice and tight. We're basically just sealing up the envelope. Then I'm just going to measure the length of the tenderloin. Now I'm gonna come up under, pull it tight, give it a little knot at the end. I think this skillet is ready to sear these off. We're gonna brown the outside of these venison loins in the skillet, then put them back in the casserole dish and cook them at 350 degrees for 15 minutes. Hard rest, slice, plate up, eat.
This is a Chateauneuf de Pape. 1308, Pope Clement V changed his residence from Rome to Rome. And then a guy named Pope John XII, he moved in and he was there. And the Pope was there in that residence for about 70 years. Chateauneuf de Pape, by the way, means Papa's new house, right? And they started introducing wine to new regions as they conquered and developed new areas. Now, this particular winery has been around since 1340-ish, okay? Family from father to son ever since then. It was run initially as a fief. So a fief is a plot of land granted by royalty. Nobility still owned it, but you were able to run it and manage it as your own. The family didn't actually take ownership until much later. Along with the fiefdom, they were granted the right to carry a sword, which was a thing, right? Primarily, it's Grenache, right? Grenache Rouge, to be specific, because there is a Grenache Blanc. So this particular one is 80% Grenache, 20% Syrah. It is a lot of limestone. It is a lot of fossilized sea creatures. And being on the slope, you're going to get the water runoff, and you're also going to get the roots going deep into these particular soils, which helps get character into the wine. It does get warm there, so you get a lot of development in the grape, so that's going to come through in the wine, and as it pulls the nutrients from the soil, you're going to get a lot of character, and that is what makes Chateauneuf de Pape across the board such a spectacular choice of wine from their own region of France.
Right.
So cheers. Cheers. Heavenly Father, we come before you with humble hearts in Jesus' mighty name. Amen. Wow.
It's fun and playful and bright and surprising. I love it.
I'm so pleased with how tender the venison is.
The Chateauneuf de Pape brings